Greetings, kia ora. Welcome to Rehu Sport, and this is Super Rugby Aotearoa's Team of the Season. My name is Mike Rehu. I've been watching all the games and rating all the players for Rugby Pass over the last 10, 11 weeks, and it's been a wonderful season. As a global sports fan, it's great to see big crowds coming in, enjoying live sport, especially when we had games in the afternoon. It culminated yesterday with a great final, very intense, a great spectacle. The Crusaders coming out champions again for the fifth time in a row. And of course it was their coach, Scott Robertson, who put the icing on the cake with his incredible celebration. Bit of rain spitting down there too to lubricate the field, and away he went. Scott Robertson, what a legend. When you think from 5 years ago, in the Tok Black era, they were pretty poor, pretty average, and he's turned that round to get 5 victories in a way. All right, let's turn our attention now to the team of the season. And we're going to start in the front row, as every good team does and every good game does, if you talk to the props, and look at the top loosehead props for 2021. The two leading contenders for this are two newbies, actually. Aidan Ross from the Chiefs and Ethan de Groot from the Highlanders. I find with the loosehead prop, it's great when they get a lot of game time. They seem to really perform well and get into a groove. So de Groot got a chance when Aidan Johnson was injured, and Aidan Ross came back after injury, and they both had 4 or 5 games in a row where they really got better week after week. Other looseheads of mention were Carl Tuanukiafi and Alex Hodgman from the Blues, although that much vaunted Blues scrum never really got going. Numia and Norris, guys that we saw a lot off the bench for the Hurricanes and the Chiefs. Good guys off the bench. Numia struggled when he started in the scrumming, and Norris is a great young player, and I'm sure we'll see more of him. But I've decided to go with Aidan Ross, even though he was a little disappointing in the final last night, didn't quite get going. He's been the best loosehead prop on display, in my opinion. Moving on to hooker, and there's no real contest here. One man really led the way in terms of stats. He was the leading tackler in the whole competition, which for a hooker is great. And it's tackles won too, those aggressive, positive tackles. He was spectacular in the outfield, especially at the start of the season. Goodness knows how he is training. Other people that deserve a mention, Asafo Omo has always looked great when he's got a chance, although that's one area where the Hurricanes are really strong with Dane Coles, Ricky Riccitelli, O'Reilly, and then there was that guy Thompson who played Wellington NPC last year as well. So they've got a great stock of hookers there, but Cody Taylor is my man for hooker. Tight head prop, a little bit more congestion there. Angus Ta'oval had a lot of fans. And also, I'm a big fan of Ofa Tu'ungafasi. I think he was good all season. Again, just sharing game time with Nepo Laulala wasn't great for him. I'm sure if he'd had a longer run and had more responsibility, like Ta'oval did, he really reacted well to it and played well. But in the mix, what I like about Tu'ungafasi is everything he does with strength and real positivity. His hits are really hard. His runs are strong, as well as being a great scrummager. So I've gone for Ofa Tu'ungafasi there at number 3. Now the locks. I guess the major discussion about lock is who will partner Sam Whitelock, because he was incredible. Last night's final again underlined exactly what he means to Crusaders rugby and also All Black rugby. He just keeps going. You can't fatigue the man. Incredible. So I've come up with 3 major people that would partner him well. Tupou Vai, Gerard Cowley Tuioti, and the old warrior himself, Bryn Evans. I've got to say too that Dixon was pretty good for the Highlanders. Sam Dowry was amazing when he came in mid-season, and I think we'll see a lot more of him in the future. Brilliant aerial skills. And Blackwell from the Hurricanes, he's a real warhorse. He's never going to let anybody down. So well done to all the locks who played well this year. In the mix, I've decided to go with Vai. Imagine, he's just turned 21. He's an All Black already, but basically foisted with the responsibility of winning line-out ball and being that aerial threat for the Chiefs, even though last night was pretty tough for him, being the only real jumper in the Chiefs team. I think he's got a lot to add to any team of the tournament. A bit like the hooker, there's really no don't argue. A bit like his fens with number 6, Shannon Frizzell gets the blindside flanker position. In terms of stats, he's just one player who stood out incredibly. He had 92 carries. He was first in that. 5th in line-out wins. 1st in offloads at the end of regular season. Quite amazing season for Shannon Frizzell. I hope he's got enough in the tank to keep going through the Trans-Tasman competition and into the All Black season. Ethan Blackadder played really well out of his skin and is an amazing component in the Crusaders team. That Crusaders team really does rely on a team effort. And a bit like the loose forwards as well, I find that loose forwards individually operate a lot better when they're actually part of a cohesive team. Frizzell had good partners in crime with Harmon and Hermino for most of the season as well. So when we look at number 7, again, they're guys that have had a good loose forward trio to work with. Papalii, he had Sotutu, Ioane, Robinson, and Gibson, of course, too, played 6 there for a while. Part of a good team of loose forwards. Boshier with Jacobson, Sotutu, Sokula and Brown. They were all really, really good too all season. I've decided to go with Dalton Papalii. I think his athleticism makes him stand out. Lachlan Boshier, though, would never let any team down, that's for sure. So Papalii makes it to number 7 for me. Number 8 was a position too where there was a lot of strength and debate. I know a lot of Hurricanes fans will go for Ardie Savea. He's really their talismanic player alongside Geordie Barrett. Obviously stumbled with his injury towards the end of the season. But look at that talent. Hermino too, Kazuki Hermino. He came in 4th or 5th round and played outstandingly. Did really well. Never backs down to anybody's. Good runner, good tackler. And it's great to see a good international player making his mark on this local competition. Sotutu, an All Black last year, of course, kicked on slightly, but I think we'll see more of him during the Trans-Tasman series. Jay Gibson was the revelation at 8 and even kept Sowakula out once he reached full fitness. So I've decided to go for Luke Jacobson. I think he's really good. Ardie Savea wouldn't let anybody down, that's for sure, and he'd certainly make my bench. At halfback at number 9, 3 leading contenders there. The 2 Highlanders, who worked well as a 1-2 punch earlier in the season, and Brad Weber, a fantastic little warrior, and really stepped up to the Chiefs' captaincy later in the season as well, after they lost Sam Cane. And I think Weber, he was the only one who made it onto the Super Rugby stats. He was first in clean breaks at the end of the regular season, evened up last night when a couple of Crusaders caught up with him, but he certainly had an outstanding season. Aaron Smith started very slowly, and you can sort of see, I think he's kind of got one eye on his post-career, as we saw him on as a pundit last night on Super Rugby Aotearoa final on Sky TV. And he certainly responded to be giving the sole responsibility of the 9 jersey late in the season. But Folau Fakatava, for me, was a revelation. He's got so many skills, individual skills. One of them is distribution, but his work on the ball and around the ball and in defence, turnovers as well. Brave turnovers in the front of massive forward packs. I've decided to give the number 9 jersey to Folau Fakatava. And who knows what's going to happen in the next 12 months too. He needs to play for the All Blacks before he'd have to step down for a year. So it's getting to be quite a squeeze in terms of Rugby World Cup 2023, in terms of his qualification. But hopefully he can return to full fitness, get a couple of NPC games in, and be ready for anything that might eventuate in November. Let's see how his return to injury goes. Well, number 10, not too much debate there really either, is there? Incredible. Richie Mo'unga, especially when his forwards is going forward. When he gets that go-forward ball, he's irrepressible. His stepping, his play at the line against big fatties in the defensive line, stepping, very influential player. and will be one of the first All Blacks picked in the number 10 jersey. Special mentions to the Highlanders pair, Mitch Hunt, who had a couple of great games, particularly against the Crusaders when they won 33-12. And Josh Ioane, he spent a lot of time at fullback, but certainly a talented player. So that's our number 10 sorted. On to number 12 in the midfield. Two contenders there for me. One of them is Ngani Laumapi, and the other is David Havili, who was kind of a reluctant performer at number 12. Pushed in there because of the surfeit of talent that the Crusaders have in the backs. So you could see he was a bit reluctant, but by the end of the season, he'd really become a natural second 5'8". I wouldn't call him an inside centre, perhaps not the strongest build, but certainly the skills to influence a game like a second 5'8". Laumapi, he's tried hard to get an all-round game going with little chip kicks and some distribution, but for me, just not consistent enough, goes quiet at times, and really needs to get angry to step up. So I've decided to go to David Havili for the number 12 jersey. At centre, two contenders again, Rieko Ioane, who earlier in the season was playing really, really well, and Anton Leonard-Brown, who started at 12 and then moved out one during the season. For me, Rieko really didn't react well to the leadership role that the Blues needed him to take on, and I think it reflects poorly on his chances at 13 for this season too for the All Blacks. He may have to have a rethink about where his future lies. I was a huge proponent of him playing at 13 back as far back as 2018, but I think he's really going to have to think about his role in the game and his skills. So yeah, I've decided to go for Anton Leonard-Brown. He's such an influential player for the Chiefs. When they needed him to make a big play, he did, whether it was with a turnover at crucial times, whether it was with an attacking run and a beautiful slip pass. ALB can do it all, and he's my number 13. All right, on to the wings. Special mention too at 13 for Leicester Fainga'aniku, who was just incredible in last night's final. But I've decided to consider him as a left wing, where he spent most of the start of the season, and he was absolutely phenomenal. Eteni Nanai Saturo also was good. He was second in defenders beaten and played really well all season apart from the final. Just went missing last night in the final, which was sad. Caleb Clark is another player too who has had a bit of the second season blues. But I'm sure Caleb Clark's going to come right in Trans-Tasman. That power game should work really well against the Australians. So look to him for churn through the metres once we get to those 5 rounds of Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. So, decided to go with Leicester Fainga'aniku there. Irrepressible numbers, really outstanding. 77 carries. He was second in metres to Will Jordan, third in defenders beaten. A real slew, and become a very influential player just in terms of go forward for the Crusaders. So well done to Leicester Fainga'aniku. All right, let's go to fullback first, because got a bit of a conundrum we need to solve here, because these three players, they'd all grace the All Blacks easily in the number 15 jersey, and then you've got Beauden Barrett waiting for him to come back from Japan. It's a bit crazy, really, isn't it? But we have a massive talent at 15. And all different players too in their own right, brilliant players. Damian McKenzie turned the season round with the Chiefs. He was 6th in carries, 6th in tries, 3rd in metres, and just that clutch play that we saw every time the Chiefs needed him to extract a victory from the jaws of defeat. He was able to step up and get them into the final. Last night the pressure told on him a little bit. His golden boot seemed to desert him, and he just looked a little bit too frenetic in that third quarter, where with that 2-man advantage, Damian McKenzie really needed to step up. Geordie Barrett, what can you say about him? Amazing player, really a reincarnation of Don Clark, the way he has that massive boot, big strong runner. He's a rock at the back, that's for sure. And Will Jordan, who finally got the start to regularly play at the Crusaders at number 15 and made every post a winner with 82 carries and a slew of tries as well. It can certainly beat a man, that's for sure. Will Jordan, second in clean breaks, 4th in defenders beaten, 1st in metres by a long way. Although I was surprised how many teams just kicked to him and gave him a good 20-25 metres to carry back. The kicks weren't high enough in the air. The defensive line, of course, the referees were really tough on the defensive line and penalised people for running forward in an offside position. So that helped Will Jordan get those outstanding metres. All in all, I know Hurricane supporters are going to be disappointed, but I've decided to go with D-Mac at number 15. Awesome player and a really influential player in terms of the competition this year, where the Hurricanes, the Wooden Spooners, relied on 2 or 3 players and just weren't good enough as a team. So that leads me to number 14, the right wing jersey. And Sever Reece is probably the player when he came back from injury who's really made a difference. We saw in the final last night, he gets into everything. He was second in clean breaks at the end of the regular season and wouldn't let anybody down. He's a good, strong player. But I've decided to consider Will Jordan because he did play at right wing for some of the earlier parts of the season. And when you can slot him into the team at 14, which I think the All Blacks will do as well later in the season, why not? So that's my team in totality. Got D-Mac at the back, 14 is Will Jordan, Leicester on the left wing, ALB and Havili in the midfield, Moonga and Fakatava in the halves. Imagine those two together. Papalii, Jacobson and Frizzell, the loose forward trio. Vai and Whitelock, the best of both worlds in the locks. And the front row of Tongafasi, Aidan Ross and Cody Taylor. What do you think? I'm sure you've got comments about that team. And I'm sure some Hurricanes fans will be very angry, and I'm waiting to hear from them. But if you have any comments on YouTube or on Facebook, do let me know in the comments section and we'll get back. Maybe we'll do a little feedback session about your teams and your suggestions, because there's been some brilliant rugby played and I can't wait for that Trans-Tasman season to start. Looking forward to it. And we don't have to wait very long, just 5 days until the first game start. The Super Rugby Trans-Tasman. Hope you've enjoyed the team of the season for Super Rugby Aotearoa, brought to you by Rehu Sport. Subscribe down there, please. Likey. I'm trying to get this YouTube channel going as well as I can and using the technology to my advantage. So please support me and take care. Have a great week. Can't wait for more rugby. This has been a production of Tahu Films. Ka kite anō.